Attention. If you've ever felt the world turn its back on you, this story is for you. Are you ready to discover how betrayal can become your greatest strength? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video so you don't miss any of our inspiring stories. The first thing Sophia noticed was the cold side of the bed. The sheets were still perfectly folded where Ethan should have been. No imprint, no warmth, just a silent stretch of space that felt colder with each morning she woke up alone. Sophia, a routine, had become her life. He would leave before dawn, or not come home at all, always with a reason, a meeting, a crisis, a project too important for rest. She sat up slowly, pressing a hand to her chest to calm the familiar flutter of anxiety. Her eyes drifted to the faint city skyline of London, through the penthouse windows. The world below buzzed with life, but in here, everything was still. Too still. Ethan had once loved mornings with her, pancakes on Sundays, soft music from the speaker, warm kisses with coffee. But that was before the IPO, before the investors, before the version of him she used to love faded into crisp suits and press releases. She slid out of bed and padded across the floor, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. On the kitchen counter was a half-drunk espresso and a note in his precise memoir's emotionless handwriting. Conference call ran long. Don't wait up. No love, no warmth, just distance. She reread the note 3 times before crumpling it and tossing it into the sink. Ethan had grown colder, but she never imagined how far that coldness would extend. It was almost noon when she heard the elevator chime. She turned, expecting Ethan, perhaps a surprise visit, a small apology. But it wasn't him. It was Chloe. Younger by almost a decade, Chloe was Sophia's cousin, though family ties had long since blurred. Chloe had come to stay with them after university, supposedly for a few months. She was sweet, insecure, indecisive. Sophia had taken her in like a sister. Now she stood on the threshold, wearing a designer dress Sophia didn't recognize. Her smile was tight, her tone rehearsed. "I didn't want you to hear it from anyone else," Chloe said. "Ethan, he's filed for divorce, and now we're together." Silence stretched between them like an abyss. Sophia recoiled, as if the words had physically struck her. "Chloe, what are you saying?" Chloe hesitated. Then she continued, her voice barely audible with guilt. "I didn't mean for it to happen. We didn't plan it. But it's real. He loves me." Sophia stared at her. The pieces clicked into place with cruel clarity. Chloe's late-night texts, Ethan's sudden protectiveness towards her, the way they avoided eye contact when they were in the same room. "You lived in my home," Sophia whispered. "I trusted you. I didn't want this to hurt you, but it did. In every way betrayal knows." Sophia didn't scream. She didn't cry. She turned. She walked to the bedroom and softly closed the door behind her. Inside, she stood still, staring at the bed. The side that had grown cold would never be warm again. And yet, somewhere deep beneath the pain, something else stirred. Not rage, not vengeance, but resolve. Sophia didn't cry. Not that day. Not the day after. Not even when the divorce papers arrived. Clinical. Calculated. With Ethan's signature already stamped in black ink. What was once a marriage built on shared dreams had been reduced to a sterile packet of legal jargon. The name on the second line stabbed deeper than any claws. Chloe Miller. Sophia stared at it, her mouth dry. The betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was familial. Chloe had grown up bouncing between homes, clinging to Sophia like an older sister. Sophia had sheltered her, defended her, paid for her therapy after Chloe's father left. And now Chloe had taken Sophia's husband, unfazed. But the world didn't see it that way. The media painted a different picture. Tech titan Ethan Reed of Vostek finds love again with younger woman. Power couple to watch. Reed and Miller headline charity gala. No mention of a discarded wife. No headlines about the woman who built the first website for Ethan's company on a second-hand laptop, who lent him money when investors pulled out, who sat by his side the first night his app hit 1 million downloads, and cried tears of pride. Ethan had erased her from the narrative. And Chloe had stepped into it as if it had always belonged to her. Sophia spent her days like a ghost in her own apartment. Her footsteps were silent, deliberate. Her phone remained silent. She ignored the few friends who dared to reach out. Her lawyer, Diana, handled the calls. The settlement was cruel. Ethan's lawyers had used every loophole in the prenuptial agreement to cut her out of the shares. She had signed it years ago, when they were in love, when she believed in forever. Now it strangled her like a paper noose. One afternoon, Sophia sat on the floor by a half-packed box of books and photo frames. She held a picture of the three of them, Ethan, herself, and Chloe, at a summer barbecue. Chloe had her arms around both of them. Everyone had been laughing. How long had it been a lie? She traced a finger over Chloe's face, then her own. The difference in their expressions was subtle. Sophia had looked content. Chloe had looked hungry. She stood, pulled open the drawer of Ethan's old desk, and took out a small velvet pouch. Inside was a ring, not her wedding ring, but a gift from Ethan, on their 5th anniversary. It was engraved inside, "You are my calm." Now it mocked her. She closed the pouch and set it aside. She didn't need it. What she needed was clarity, and clarity arrived when her body began to change. She stared at the pregnancy test on the bathroom counter. 2 stark lines stared back at her. She was pregnant, and for the first time since Chloe had walked through the elevator door, Sophia felt something other than pain. She felt purpose. Sophia sat on the edge of the bathtub, one hand on her stomach, the other still clutching the test. "Pregnant," she whispered aloud, as if trying to hear how it sounded in the silence. Her voice broke mid-word. The bathroom mirror showed her reflection, pale, stunned, and in an old t-shirt of Ethan's she hadn't realized she still possessed. She should have felt joy, relief, hope, but all she felt was cornered. Ethan's voice echoed in her head, distant, but sharp. "Everything we build is protected, legally. No surprises, no problems. That's what the prenup is for." She hadn't cared then. They were in love. Ethan had said it was just a formality, that it wouldn't mean anything unless they allowed it to. But now it meant everything. Sophia's lawyer, Diana, was relentless. But even she sounded uncertain when they met days later, in a downtown office tucked behind a neutral sign. "You signed a prenuptial agreement, amended 3 years into the marriage," Diana explained, frowning at the documents spread before them. "It gives Ethan primary ownership of the house, all corporate shares, including retroactive assets and future earnings." Sophia blinked. "Wait, even the app I helped him launch? I built the first site." "You weren't listed as a formal co-founder. He used the prenup to retroactively close out equity. You signed away your rights without realizing it." Sophia's chest tightened. Diana continued, her voice softer. "But here's where it gets interesting. He also included a clause about paternity." Sophia straightened. "What kind of clause?" If a child is born to either party within 12 months of legal separation, DNA testing is mandatory before claims or parental support can be enforced. That's not common, but it means... Diana hesitated, lowering her voice. He was preparing to cheat on you long before you knew. The realization hit Sophia like a brick to the lungs. Ethan hadn't stumbled into Chloe's arms. He had planned the fall before she even knew she was on the brink. Sophia said nothing for a long time. Then, if I tell him I'm pregnant, he'll try to control it. Diana nodded. Or worse, use it against you in court, especially if he thinks you'll go public. Sophia stood. Her voice didn't tremble this time. Then I won't tell him. She walked out of the building with her head held high and her stomach churning. Back in her apartment, she opened a drawer in the guest room, Chloe's old room. It was still full of things she'd left behind. Perfume, a hairbrush, a scarf Sophia had knitted her 2 birthdays ago. She stared at them, remembering the girl who once clung to her for protection. That girl was gone. She would be gone too. Sophia turned to face the mirror. Her hand moved over her belly, this time not in fear, but with quiet, fierce intent. He took the company. He took the house. He took Chloe. But he won't take this. The calls came just after midnight. 3 of them. Blocked number. No voicemail, no text. Just the screen lighting up again and again as Sophia lay curled on the sofa, knees drawn to her chest, the television flickering at her empty gaze. She didn't answer. She didn't need to. She already knew who it was. Ethan had a pattern. He only communicated when he wanted to control the narrative. And now, silence was her resistance. Her fingers slid over her stomach, which now showed the slightest swell. She was almost 3 months along, still private, still off the radar. Only Diana and her private midwife, Clara, knew the truth. The city outside her window pulsed with nighttime noise, but inside, everything was heavy with stillness. Then the 4th call came, this time from Diana. Sophia answered immediately. "He knows," Diana said. Sophia's throat tightened. "How?" "Not about the babies, but he knows you're off the radar. He's asking questions through acquaintances, trying to figure out what you're planning. My advice? Stay low. No public outings. Don't post anything. Let him think you're irrelevant." "I've been irrelevant," Sophia whispered. "Not anymore." After the call ended, Sophia paced the apartment. Her mind raced. She hadn't told Diana the whole truth yet. Not just that she was pregnant, but that it wasn't 1 child. It was 4. She hadn't said it aloud to anyone. Even Clara had only found out during the 2nd ultrasound. Her gloved hands had trembled as she adjusted the monitor. "Quadruplets," Clara had whispered. "Sophia, this isn't normal. Not at all." It wasn't. None of this was. The irony wasn't lost on her. Ethan had always wanted heirs, but on his terms. Clean, perfect, marketable, like product launches. Now she carried 4 children he didn't even know existed. 4 pieces of a truth he had no power over. Ethan reached for his desk drawer and pulled out the envelope again. The test results. The affidavit signed by the clinic confirming DNA paternity via stored genetic material. There would be no doubt later. No room for denial. And yet he still hesitated. Because this wasn't just revenge. This was about reclaiming a story she had been erased from. A soft knock startled her. She froze. Another knock. Firmer. She moved toward the door slowly, her heart pounding. Then, "Sophia?" A familiar voice. "Clara." Sophia opened the door just enough to see her. The older woman looked nervous, glancing over her shoulder. "What's wrong?" Clara slipped inside quickly. There's a man across the street. Parked. Same car all week. Tinted windows. I didn't want to scare you, but Sophia's chest tightened. You think it's him? I think he's watching someone. And your name is appearing on fewer and fewer documents lately. That's not an accident. Sophia closed the door behind them, her breath catching. Ethan wasn't just asking questions. He was already closing in. She looked at Clara. I'm leaving. Where? Somewhere he won't think to look. Clara hesitated. With 4 on the way? With 4, Sophia said, a steel quietness in her voice. She went to pack, and she didn't look back. The envelope arrived with no return address. Cream-colored, thick, heavy with arrogance. Sophia almost didn't open it. She stared at it for a long time, sitting in the kitchen of the small cottage she now called home. 3 hours from the city, tucked away among pine trees and silence, but curiosity won. Inside, a wedding invitation. Engraved. Lavish. Ethan Reed and Chloe Miller cordially invite you to witness their union in a celebration of eternal love. She stopped reading. Her hands trembled, but she didn't cry. The date was 3 weeks away. He had filed for divorce only 5 months ago. The ink wasn't even dry, and now he was marrying her cousin in what the press was calling the power wedding of the year. Was it Chloe's idea? To send the invitation? Or Ethan's way of twisting the knife? Sophia looked at her belly, now full and round. 7 months. The babies stirred as if reacting to her pulse. They were all she had now. No press, no parties, no photographers waiting outside hospitals. Just her, and the weight of 4 tiny lives who had never asked for any of this. Clara slipped silently through the back door, a grocery bag in her hand. Are you all right? Sophia handed her the invitation. Clara read it, her eyebrows slowly arching. They sent this to you? Sophia nodded. Clara set the envelope on the counter. They're provoking you. I know. What are you going to do? Sophia looked out the window. There was a quiet stillness in the woods, the kind of stillness that made every thought sharper. I'm not going to react, she finally said. Good, Clara said, but her tone was hesitant. I think that's smart, but Sophia wasn't finished. I'm going to respond. Clara narrowed her eyes. How? Sophia didn't answer immediately. She turned to the fridge, pulled out a bottle of water, and stared at the glass surface. I won't scream, she said slowly. I won't break in and ruin their day. Then what? Sophia smiled faintly. It wasn't cruel. It was serene. I'm going to attend, she said. Not to protest, not to beg, just long enough to give him a gift he'll never forget. Clara tilted her head. Sophia, are you sure? I have every right, Sophia said. And I won't be going alone. Clara's eyes dropped to her stomach. Less than 8 weeks until delivery. Which gives me just enough time, Sophia said, her voice steady, her eyes fixed straight ahead. She didn't need to shout. The truth would walk in behind her. Think for a moment. What do you think Sophia has in mind? How do you think she'll reveal her gift without a word? Leave your comment below with your predictions. We'd love to read them. The cottage smelled of lavender and iron that night. Lavender from the oil Clara rubbed on Sophia's wrist to keep her calm, and iron from the basin of blood she had quietly cleaned hours earlier. The babies had arrived early. Too early. Sophia lay weakly on the makeshift bed, her breathing shallow, her face pale, but at peace. 4 tiny bundles, each wrapped in soft white cloth, rested in a heated bassinet nearby. The silence was almost sacred. No crying, no beeping monitors, just the sound of a crackling fire and Clara's soft hum as she wrote in an old leather journal. Sophia stirred. "How long?" "6 hours," Clara replied softly. "Are they okay?" Clara smiled. "Stronger than they should be." Sophia closed her eyes in gratitude, tears welling at the corners. "They're mine now. Only mine." "You're lucky," Clara whispered, as if afraid the truth might break something fragile. "If we had waited one more day—" Sophia nodded. She knew. She had planned to wait until week 30, and she had planned to rest, recover, then walk into Ethan's wedding like a storm in heels. But her body had other plans, and so did fate. Now she would have to change everything. The next morning, Clara handed her a manila envelope. Inside were notarized documents, DNA results, signed affidavits, and pre-prepared custody papers. Everything Ethan would need to understand what he had truly lost. Sophia traced the top corner of the document with a finger. "I won't raise them hidden in the woods," she said quietly. "I won't let him erase their truth as he erased mine." Clara's voice grew firm. "Then we do it legally, clean, crisp." Sophia nodded. "And symbolically." "What do you mean?" Sophia looked at the envelope, then out the window at the long gravel drive leading to the city. "I want him to see us, not as a threat, not as drama, but as an undeniable reality." Clara exhaled slowly. "You still plan to go?" Sophia smiled faintly. "I never canceled the RSVP." The following week, a long limousine pulled up at the edge of the forest road. The driver, a friend of Diana's, carefully stepped out and helped pack the bags. Clara carefully handed the babies, now stronger, pink-skinned, and curious, to a private nurse who would accompany them. Everything was done in silence, measured, respectful, precise. Sophia wore a charcoal-tailored dress, not glamorous, but elegant. No jewelry, no makeup beyond a touch of mascara. Her hair was pulled back in a loose braid, like a woman who was not going to destroy, but to witness something fall apart. She held the envelope in one hand. Inside, the truth, signed and sealed. As the limousine pulled away, Clara stood on the porch, her eyes clouded with pride and fear. "Will he know?" she asked softly. Sophia didn't look back. "He'll know the moment the door opens." The wedding venue gleamed in marble and light, a historic estate just outside the city, adorned with ivory roses and crystal chandeliers. Paparazzi clustered near the gates. Cameras flashed as sleek cars arrived one by one. Celebrity friends, venture capitalists, influencers, all there to witness what had been dubbed the most glamorous union of the year. Ethan stood at the altar under a sculpted arch, in a bespoke midnight blue tuxedo, flanked by his groomsmen. His jaw was tight, his expression unreadable. But something in his eyes kept flickering towards the entrance. He was waiting, not for the bride, but for an interruption. He hadn't spoken to Sophia in weeks. She had gone silent after the invitation was sent. No texts, no lawyer replies, no public appearances. He assumed she was sulking. But somewhere beneath his confidence, unease gnawed at him, and then the whisper came. "Who's in the limo?" It rolled slowly, stopping just at the edge of the stone steps. It wasn't another guest. It wasn't anyone expected. Security moved instinctively. Then the back door opened. A heel emerged, polished black, elegant and modest. Then another. Sophia emerged, and behind her came 4 matching prams, guided by 2 women in light gray uniforms. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Phones rose in the air. Murmurs swelled into waves. Ethan stood motionless. Sophia didn't rush. She walked up the steps with serene composure, the envelope in her hand. She showed no expression, no anger, no pain. Just stillness, like a wave about to break. Guests instinctively parted, unsure whether to acknowledge her or pretend they hadn't seen her. Chloe, standing just outside the grand doors in her gown, paled. Her hands dropped the bouquet. Sophia paused just before the entrance, the children behind her cooing softly. Their eyes were wide and curious. One of them, a little girl with Ethan's dimples, giggled. That was the moment it happened. Ethan's mask cracked. He took a slow step forward. Sophia. She met his eyes, and for the first time in a long time, he was the one who looked small. She said nothing. She just handed him the envelope. He took it with slow hands. He opened it. He read the first line. His face went white. Chloe stepped forward, whispering, "What's happening?" But Ethan couldn't speak. Inside the envelope, notarized DNA results. All 4 children. His. Born 2 weeks ago. His name already listed on their birth certificates. Sophia turned without a word. She didn't come for drama. She came for truth. And now, everyone had seen it. The envelope trembled slightly in Ethan's hands, though he tried to maintain his composure. His eyes darted across the page, blinking at the undeniable truth in black and white, stamped at the bottom of each document. Father, Ethan Reed. Children, male, female, male, female. 4. Chloe stood beside him, speechless, her bouquet forgotten at her feet. Her lips parted, but no words came out. Sophia didn't wait for a reaction. She walked slowly back towards the limousine, the nurse gently guiding the prams behind her. The guests, motionless moments ago, now erupted into fragmented whispers. Are those his children? She had 4. When did this happen? Ethan's voice cracked. Sophia, wait! She paused at the base of the steps and turned slightly, but didn't come back. Her eyes met his. Steady. Calm. Unyielding. You had all the resources in the world, she said softly. All the lawyers, all the press releases, every carefully crafted lie. But you forgot one thing. Ethan's breath hitched. You forgot that I existed, she continued. And now they exist. He took a step towards her, the paper still clutched in his hand, his eyes going from her to the babies. You should have told me. You would have buried them in paperwork. You would have buried me in court, she said. You would have turned their lives into a PR strategy. She didn't need to say more. Both of them knew what Ethan did when control slipped from his grasp. He tightened his hold until everything broke beneath him. Behind them, the guests began to shift uncomfortably. Cameras flashed. Chloe finally spoke, her voice shrill and uncertain. She's just trying to ruin this day. Sophia tilted her head. Oh, Chloe, I'm not trying to ruin anything. I'm just returning what always belonged here. One of the babies stirred, a soft, sleepy whimper. The nurse instinctively rocked the pram. Ethan flinched at the sound, as if it struck something deep and unfamiliar, a kind of pain he couldn't name. Sophia looked at the children, then back at him. They are yours. I ask for nothing, no money, no apologies. I just wanted you to see what you left behind. And now? He asked, his voice hoarse. Now? Sophia whispered. Now I will raise them without lies, without manipulation, without you. She turned again, this time without stopping. As the limousine door closed behind her, Ethan stood on the steps of his own wedding, holding the proof of a life he could never unsee, surrounded by people who could never unknow. Inside the grand estate, the music had stopped. The wedding planner paced nervously. Photographers hovered hesitantly. The cake stood untouched, its towering perfection mocked by the chaos outside. Ethan remained motionless. Chloe reached out a hand to him. He didn't take it. Instead, he looked towards the gates, where Sophia's limousine disappeared beyond the hedges, taking with it the only thing he had truly created, without calculation. He was a millionaire, a CEO, a man with power, reach, and legacy. But for the first time, he was also a father, and he hadn't earned a single second of it. What would you do in Sophia's situation? Would you have acted the same way or chosen a different path? Share your thoughts in the comments. The media erupted within hours. By the next morning, the scandal of Ethan Reed's wedding was trending worldwide. News anchors played Sophia's shaky arrival footage on a loop. The limousine, the prams, the stunned groom. The headlines wrote themselves. Tech CEO's ex-wife crashes wedding with quadruplets. They're his. Billionaire's baby bomb rocks high society ceremony. From wife to mother of four, Sophia Reed makes a statement without saying a word. And the story didn't end at the ceremony. Sophia's legal team, led by Diana, filed a motion the next day for full legal custody and public acknowledgement of paternity. It wasn't about money. It was about documentation, recognition, identity, legacy. Meanwhile, Chloe disappeared from the public eye. Her vibrant Instagram, once filled with sunsets, brunches, and diamond rings, was wiped clean. Rumors swirled. Some said she had fled to a family estate in France. Others claimed she had been hospitalized for stress. The truth was simpler. Her parents had disinherited her. Sophia watched it all from the same quiet cottage, now outfitted with Moses baskets and soft yellow light. She never turned up the volume. She simply let the headlines speak for themselves. The betrayal she once grieved now played out in public, raw and irreversible. Clara sat with her one afternoon, rocking one of the babies, while two others napped, and the fourth happily sucked his thumb. "Are you sure you're okay?" Clara asked. Not for the first time. Sophia nodded. "It's not justice, but it's something." Clara looked down at the baby in her arms. "He looks like Ethan." "I know," Sophia said. "They all carry pieces of him. Do you hate that?" Sophia was silent for a moment. "No," she said, "because they also carry pieces of me, and I will teach them what to keep and what to leave behind." Across town, Ethan sat alone in a dimly lit office. The wedding had been called off. Investors were restless. His image, once perfectly managed, had fractured. Public sympathy leaned towards Sophia. She had spoken softly, acted with dignity, and walked away with grace. She had told the truth without fire, letting facts speak louder than scandal. And it had worked. For once, Ethan couldn't manipulate it. He poured a glass of whiskey and stared at the still frame on his laptop, a paused news clip of Sophia walking up the steps, prams behind her, expression unreadable. He zoomed in. One of the children, tiny, round-cheeked, wide-eyed, looked directly into the camera. It hit him in the chest. He had missed everything. The heartbeat ultrasounds, the first kicks. The night Sophia must have cried alone. He hadn't just betrayed his wife. He had betrayed what could have been. Outside his office door, his assistant hovered with another press release for his approval. Ethan didn't move. He closed the laptop instead. In that moment, he knew the truth. He had everything, and he traded it for control. Now he had neither. The penthouse was silent. Too silent for someone like Ethan Reed. The space, once gleaming, It felt sterile now. The flowers Chloe had arranged for the post-wedding celebration had withered in their crystal vases. Unopened gifts lined the marble entryway table, wrapped in gold paper and white silk ribbons. He stood barefoot in the kitchen, a half-finished bottle of wine on the counter, not the celebratory kind. This was old, bitter, and dry, the kind a man pours when he wants to forget rather than toast. He filled the glass slowly, watching the dark liquid swirl as if it held answers. He hadn't heard from Chloe since the day after the wedding. Her father had called, furious, ashamed, not about the betrayal, but about the embarrassment. "You turned my daughter into a tabloid footnote." Ethan didn't argue, and he didn't care. He walked to the massive living room window and looked out at the glittering city below. It pulsed with life, but none of it was his anymore, not in the way that mattered. His phone vibrated. Subject: custody confirmation from Diana's office. He opened it without hesitation. It was official now. Sophia had full legal custody. Ethan's name was on the documents, not as a threat, not as leverage, but as a fact. Father: Ethan Reed, 4 children, 4 lives with his blood, and none of his presence. He took a long sip of wine. Flashbacks surged like waves. Sophia's laugh the night they closed their first investor pitch. The way she had stayed up assembling furniture when he couldn't be bothered. How she had once covered for him when a public scandal almost ruined the company. Before they were married. And Chloe. The secret texts. The silent flirtations. The rationalizations. It just happened. But it didn't just happen. He had chosen it. He had chosen her. He had chosen control over trust, ego over love. Now he was alone with a skyline and a shattered brand. In the silence, he walked to the dining room. One of the last photos Sophia hadn't taken with her was in a silver frame. The 2 of them on a balcony in Greece, his arm around her, both laughing. Natural. Free. It was the only real thing they had ever had. He took another sip. Then he set the frame down carefully. Face down. A knock echoed at the door. His breath hitched. He moved slowly, unsure whether to hope or brace himself. But it wasn't Sophia. It was a messenger. An envelope. No return address. He opened it. Inside was a photo. Just one. Sophia standing in a sun-drenched park, holding a child on each hip, 2 others in a double pram beside her. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was laughing, surrounded by trees and the evening light. And next to the photo, a note. "They are happy. That's all I ever wanted." Ethan stared at it for a long time. Then he poured the rest of the wine down the sink. He didn't deserve to forget. It had been 3 weeks since the wedding that never was. 3 weeks since Sophia walked into a world designed to forget her, and made it remember. Now she stood in a quiet city park just after dawn, the quadruplets nestled beside her on a picnic blanket. The air was cool, the leaves tipped with gold. One of the babies babbled softly, while another slept with a fist tightly curled in the corner of her sweater. A reporter, one of the few Sophia hadn't turned away. She stood respectfully several feet away. She was younger, quiet, careful not to intrude. "I won't ask anything you don't want to answer," the reporter said softly. Sophia nodded. The recorder clicked. "There are people who called your appearance at the wedding a scandal. Others called it a performance. Some even said you wanted revenge." Sophia smiled faintly and looked at her children. "I didn't come to watch," she said. "I came to end it." The reporter blinked. "End what?" "The narrative that I was dispensable," Sophia said quietly. "That my silence was weakness. that what he took from me could not be reclaimed. She ran her fingers gently over her daughter's tiny foot, keeping her voice serene. For years, I accepted being second to his ambition. I bent to his rules. I signed papers I didn't understand. I supported dreams I wasn't included in. I was a wife. Then I was a stranger. And now, the reporter asked softly. Now I am a mother, Sophia said, and I will not raise my children in the shadow of someone else's lie. She paused. I didn't want a scene. I wanted a truth too big to ignore, not for Ethan, for them. The baby stirred slightly, shifting together like petals in the sunlight. The reporter hesitated. Do you ever think about forgiveness? Sophia looked at the trees. Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing to move forward without dragging the weight of someone else's failure. Will they ever see him? Perhaps someday, she said, when they are old enough to decide for themselves, but not before they know what love is. Unconditional, without power games, without abandonment. The reporter nodded slowly. Then she looked at her notes. One last thing, she said. What would you say to him now, if he were listening? Sophia looked into the distance. I would say thank you. The reporter blinked. Thank you? Sophia nodded. For leaving, she said. Because when you left, I thought I had lost everything. But what I really lost was who I had to pretend to be. She stood then, gathering the blanket and gently lifting one of the twins into her arms. The reporter lowered her recorder, silent in awe. As Sophia turned to leave, the morning light caught her figure perfectly. Strong, quiet, complete. She didn't rush. She didn't look back. In the end, it wasn't the limousine or the DNA papers or the broken wedding. It was this moment, quiet, clear, and firm, that became her final statement. Sophia didn't return to destroy Ethan. She returned to remind him and herself that he never broke her. He merely set her free. Thank you for joining us on this incredible story of resilience and empowerment. If you were moved by it, please like the video, share it with your friends, and most importantly, subscribe to the channel for more inspiring content. Your support helps us keep creating.